So first off, thank you everybody for coming. It's an early morning. We've got a lot of content and want to go over it today. Spend a lot of time showing you some of the great new capabilities that we're bringing to the service health and incident reporting services we deliver. As a brief introduction, my name is Michael Ziak. I am responsible for delivering the communications that you get on your service health dashboard, message center, and what we deliver in the roadmap. So I've got an organization responsible for delivering these communications 24/7 to all of our customers around the world. Now, ultimately, when you look at running a service, one thing that I have as an analogy that seems to resonate is running a service and using a service is very similar to flying on a plane. How many people flew into this conference? Okay, great. That's a good show of hands. Some people maybe drove. How many people in here are pilots? Anybody? Okay, you're a pilot. Great. Okay, so as you're flying on the plane, when there were issues with the flight, were you able to go into the cockpit and see what was going on, just knock on the door of the cabin? And so ultimately, when you look at when we're running a service, similar to when somebody is flying their own plane, we're going to have problems. And so as everybody in here is an IT professional, or the majority of you, that is very similar to the fact that we have a plane that we're flying as pilots, and then ultimately we've got a cabin full of pilots in our plane. So you know how to fly a plane, you know what we're doing, you know when we're doing it wrong, certainly. And our job is to give you the information that is necessary for you to be able to run your business effectively. Now, things get a little bit different in the cloud. You know, in asking the gentleman who flew, you don't get to go into the cockpit. And so that creates a lack of control. There's a sense of, hey, I'm not in control of what's going on. There is a feeling of not getting enough information. It's, hey, I want to know what's going on in the cockpit. I want to understand everything that's failing. I want to understand why it's failing, etc. And then ultimately, it's, you're getting me that information too slow. What good is it to tell you to fasten your seatbelt after your coffee's poured all over your lap and everything's gone amok? And so in that context, our job is to fly the plane as a commercial airline, to have you have a pleasant flight, but to deliver the information that you need to be able to have that flight be a good one for you, even when issues occur, because they do occur in a service. Whereas we are running a massively scaled service, well over 500,000 devices now in operation across Office 365. There are problems inside the service. How many people here have been on the service for less than a year? Okay, how many people have been on the service for 4 years? Okay, and then I'm going to say in between. So most folks have experience with regard to what it is that we're doing. Now ultimately, when you look, we're looking at this left-hand side of the screen. We're looking at all of the instrumentation. We're trying to understand things. We're looking at things like wind shear, what's going wrong within the service. We have a number of corrective actions that are taking place as we are flying this plane, so you ultimately don't have to worry about it. In the end, what you want as a passenger is you want to know, is my flight on time? Is it delayed? Will I make my connection? All of that information is what we need to give you. And again, if we give you that information late, if we don't give you enough information, if we don't tell you what gate to go to, etc., it becomes a very miserable flight. Now, when you look at the model that we operate under, we have the following commitments. It is to deliver timely communication to you. Now, I've had some customers and CIOs, as I've had issues with the service, come back and say, Mike, you know, you need to tell me about the problems before they happen. And I'm not sure exactly how to do that. But what we have found is that customers understand that there is some amount of time that it takes to figure out what's going on before we communicate. And we don't want to over-communicate. We don't want to communicate to you whenever we're having an alert show up that actually doesn't turn out to be an event. And our service has gotten extraordinarily smart. It recovers from the majority of issues without any intervention from our engineering team. We actually have self-healing in the service, and your mailbox may be running in one data center in 1 minute, and it's running in another data center in another minute. You don't even know about it. We're not going to tell you about that. That's just going to occur, and that's the design of the service. But we do owe you the responsibility of getting you communications out in a manner that allow you to communicate to your end users. Now, I can't tell you about the problem before it happens, but I do have a commitment to get better and better, and we're using automation to do that. More and more of our events and alerts are actually going directly to you without any engineering or operator intervention to tell you about it. The system's smart enough to know this is an important event. We can confirm via telemetry that users are impacted. We're going to post it. Nobody has to get engaged with it. All happens via magic. Now we want to target that communication to you. It doesn't help if you're flying on a plane and it says fasten your seatbelts and that was for another plane that's flying, or if your flight is delayed but actually it's somebody else's flight that's delayed. And so we pride ourselves in delivering communications directly to each individual tenant. We can actually post to a single customer. We have millions of customers. We can post an issue to a single tenant to give them information. And then ultimately, we want that information to be accurate. We want to tell you that your flight is delayed. We don't want to tell you things that say, hey, you may have to worry about something, we're not sure about it yet, etc. And so ultimately, we want to get you information that is relevant to you, but in the context of the fact that we're flying the plane, your passenger's on that plane, and we want to make sure that you, as the passenger, gets the information that you need. Now, the one thing that I want to call out, and I've been delivering our services since the very beginning before Office 365, is that we have maintained a continuous investment strategy with regard to how we improve in timely, targeted, and accurate communications. And we have an engineering team that is focused on improving the way you get your communications. My organization is delivering those communications and using the tools, but we have engineering resources that do nothing but 24/7 worry about how do we get you better information more quickly and more accurately in better ways. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Pavani to show you some of the very cool things that we're working on right now and going to be making available to you very soon. Pavani?
Thanks, Mike. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I am Pavani Haridasiam, and I'm a program manager in Office 365. And together with my team, I own the Service Health Dashboard. My team and I have been hard at work the last 12 months delivering value and key scenarios that we promised in last Ignite, and I'm super excited to show them to you today. My most exciting part of Ignite is talking to you. You are my most favorite bunch of people because you guide me, you give me feedback, you help us iterate on our features. You actually did UX reviews with me, so I'm so thankful for you and for your time. And let's jump into the demos for today. Before I start, I wanted to give you an introduction about the first feature I'm going to show you. This first feature has been a long time coming. You asked for it last year, you asked for it the year before, you requested it probably the year before as well. And let me guess, every time I meet you personally, that's the first thing on your mind. You tell me personally, you talk about it in user voice forums, you give me feedback on the SHD posts in the new dashboard. So basically, we heard you, that's what I mean to say. And some eager viewers are already smiling, and I think they know. That's right, we now have email notifications. Someone told me yesterday that apparently Orlando is where dreams come true. That person must be right, because finally we have email notifications in SHD. When Mike was explaining to you about the cockpit and how service incidents are a reality of service, guess what? My test tenant actually was impacted by a SharePoint issue. And how do I know that? Well, let me show you what's going on. So around 9 o'clock today, I received, that's Seattle time, by the way. I see something which says that there's a SharePoint online issue and my users are not able to see and access their files. Ooh, that sounds pretty nasty. But I didn't miss out on that. Without missing any part of what Mike said, I was on top of what was going on with my service. And when I click on that, I'm taken to my portal, and I can see, by the way, this is a new SHD. I will continue to ask you to give us more feedback. Every post now has feedback, and this is the most recent issue, and UTC, which is 4 hours ahead. So around 9 o'clock, we did have an issue. But ma'am, it was restored immediately. I mean, that's how awesome we are. And it was restored around in a minute, and I see the restored feature too. Like, it's there, it's done, I'm done. I have to not, drum up the help desk and all the messaging and everything. I can have people stand down now. So that's our commitment. We are delivering on our commitment of letting you know about incidents as fast as we can, empowering you to be the first to know in your organization about service health issues and other incidents that are impacting your tenant. Now, this is a very good segue to the second feature I'm talking about. Now, when we do know about incidents and when we have detected, we follow the detect, communicate, mitigate, like boom, boom, boom. That just happens. It's like a well-oiled machine. But what happens when we do not communicate about issues because our detection algorithms are still kind of arbitrating? And I'll tell you how this pans out, because you have shared with me all of this in extreme honesty. So you either hear from your users or your help desk that something is going on. Let's say Exchange email is not working. You go to Twitter. You go to Down Detector. You put a call out to your TAM. You put a call out to support. You're waiting for a call back. You call your buddies. I know you do. You call your buddies. You're like, is this happening to you? What's going on? Right? I know that. Why? Because you've told me, you've shared all of that to me. Well, no more. Today, that's going to stop. Today, we are going to change the way you perceive service health and the way Service Health Dashboard represents your service health. Starting today, we are going to release a feature called Report an Outage. It's very similar to what happens with utilities, and utilities are much ahead of the curve in this aspect, but I kind of want to paint the picture of what tomorrow looks like. I don't know how many of you attended the session that Anant and team have given on Monday about the way Exchange Online service runs, but we have a really mature framework and mind-boggling scale that runs on intelligence, on service intelligence. We have something called the multi-signal analysis system that takes and listens a bunch of signals to triangulate incidents as fast as it can. However, we believe that you are a strong signal. We believe that we want your voice in our system. For the first time ever, we are connecting your voice into our monitoring systems so that our multi-signal analysis systems can kick ass. Because we are constantly looking at ways at augmenting the strength, the confidence of that signal. The service takes thousands of recovery actions with high confidence, and I want you to pay attention to the word high confidence. Because the more of you yell at us that something is wrong, the higher the confidence is for us to jump in, detect, communicate, mitigate in a timely fashion. Now, enough of talk. I'm going to show you how all of that works. So here I am in my test tenant. And what I'm hearing is some users are not able to send email, there's some mail delays, something is going on. And I see an unusually high number of tickets from my help desk for those organizations that do have a help desk. And I come here and nothing except a SharePoint online advisory. And now I'm trained to kind of not freak out at advisories because I know they're not the most burning issues. I was looking for an incident. Where is the incident? Well, this is what I'm going to do. Not call my buddies, but I'm going to click on report an outage. And I'm going to click on, well, it's Exchange. My users can't send email. And I'm going to submit. Before I submit, I want you to pay attention to two things. It's very important for us to get the scenario and the workload that you're actually seeing pain or your distress from. This is truly a distress signal scenario. What this does is it helps us triangulate because we are actually placing a lot of trust in your intuition. We are powering our monitoring systems with your intuition. So helping us with selecting one of the scenarios will help greatly in narrowing down the issue. So I submit. And when I submit, I see some nice nifty little graph. You know why we did that? Because you told us about this. You're like, well, it would be nice to see if I'm the only one, or are there others like me that are experiencing this? No more calls to your buddies. This will tell you right here in a much more easily consumable form with timeline and hits about exactly how the scenario that you have just chosen to not be working for your tenant, how is it affecting other tenants? And once you've submitted it, close, it goes away. Now you must be wondering, what does this mean? Did it just vanish? Because when you do something like a bank transfer or something, it just doesn't go into ether, right? There is a trackability. It's our accountability. We are making a social contract. Now you and I are in this together, right? So we owe an answer back to you. And for that, we have something called the reported outages tracking feature. At the onset, this tracking page shows a list of all the outages that were potentially reported by your organization. It could be you, it could be another admin, anybody who has the power and the access to do this. You will be able to see all those reports. And one thing is, when we get the report, it's not yet determined whether there is a service issue on the cloud, or it's something that very specific for your organization. So the way we are going to educate you about what's going on now is with this nice little indicator. The first step is confirmation that we have received your report. The second one is where our triangulation and all the machine learning kicks in, where we are now comparing what signal that we get with what the service signals are telling us, what our monitoring systems are telling us, what our auxiliary systems are telling us, and trying to see if there is a match and if we can detect an incident faster. After our investigation is complete, two things will happen. Well, three. Okay. The first one is there is an existing service issue, and somehow the scope is increasing, and we got wind of it because of your input, and so we are going to increase the scope on an existing service issue. The second one is a completely uncommunicated, as in our signals just got the extra oomph from you saying that, yep, this is the issue, boom, 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 let's communicate. So we will open a new service issue, and we'll post the number here on the right-hand column. And the third case is where we've done everything, we've done all our checks and balances, both manual, machine, social, because we check Twitter too, and say that, yep, there is no issue at all because it's solid, right? And that's when we are like, okay, I think there is something going on with your particular installment, your particular tenant, your particular organization, and we we advise you to open a support ticket and follow up with support at that point. But at least we have eliminated the possibility that it's a cloud or a cloud outage issue. And our commitment is to get back to you within an hour. However, a caveat, we might have to really mature our systems to get to that 1 hour SLA of getting back with the status on your reported outages. So that's pretty exciting, right? Like this will help us get more accurate with a signal from you, which I don't think anybody in the cloud service business is doing right now. So I'm very excited about this feature. Now, a good segue to the next feature I'm going to talk about is something that's very near and dear to my heart, especially because over the last 1 year, we have invested a lot in something called the Targeted Tenant Engine. What it does is, let's say in the case of a report an outage, we've got your signals, we triangulated, yep, there was an issue, we acknowledge that issue, and we are actually trying to restore the service. Up until now, the status on that incident does not change on a per tenant basis. We wait for the entire world to be done before flipping the status on that incident. And I'll tell you what happens in your organizations with your users. At this point, the fix would have covered a portion of the infrastructure. So a portion of our infrastructure actually recovered at this point. And so your users are not going through that pain, but you go to a Service Hell dashboard and it says it's still active. You're confused. I mean, what's going on? I don't see my users complaining about it, and yet the dashboard says something else. We want to stop that. We want to be as accurate and as targeted as possible, even as we are resolving issues. An example of that would be here. I have a OneDrive issue. Pay specific attention to the number, the 29265. In my test tenant, the fix has rolled out, boom, boom, boom. It just shows as restored. That's it, end of story. You have now a finite amount of the exact impact time for your organization. It's not tomorrow, it's not a week from now. It is done. It was done in like a couple of hours. However, we are not done. The service is not done. And I hope my engineering team forgives me for this, but I have a sneak peek of our SQL Management Studio. This guy, we are still treating it as an active issue because we are not done restoring service to all tenants. So between the race, you versus world, you win. And this is actually going to be rolled out in the next few weeks, which is a good segue to us making this dashboard more personal and relevant. For those of you who are taking advantage of the multi-geo capabilities that were announced earlier, this Ignite, SHD is right there delivering the UX capabilities that go with that. What it means is, if you're a multi-geo tenant, as I am, obviously, you will be able to see the geolocation information for all incidents and advisories across the board. So now I have a SharePoint Online advisory, and here, this particular provisioning error, this advisory, is only impacting the geolocation of Japan. So this information helps me drive the right BCP procedures, assign the right priority, and deal with it in a more timely fashion based on the time of day, the geolocation, the size of your users in that particular geolocation. So we're super excited about delivering this feature. So in conclusion, We have email notifications. We have brand new report and outage feature and workflow. The personalized tenant resolution that will accurately and more relevantly show your exact incident impact time. And finally, for the geo-distributed tenants and organizations, SHD is there delivering value by showing the geolocation information. Now, this is all good. This is all awesome, right? What does this mean for you? Like, when can you get a taste of these features? I don't know. Maybe the code may or may not have checked in as of last night. I'm not making any claims. But we have a little surprise for you. All of these features are available for public preview. Take a moment, bring out your phones, feel free to take photographs. Both email notifications and report and outage are available for public preview. And please sign up, please give us a lot of feedback. We have a long way to go in hitting GA, and the only way ahead is with you and your feedback, which has always helped us iterate and deliver the right value, the right scenario for your organizations. Like I said, the personalized tenant resolution is already, you're part of that already, and it will be rolling out in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And Geo, I believe you need to go through your TAM and get signed up, and that way you will be part of the SHD flight, and we will be able to enable that for you as well. We were busy last year, but we are going to be more busier next year. So I have a sneak peek of what's coming. For one thing, we are going to take the service health notifications out of preview and mature into the GA state. And today, we are getting the emails for subscribing to the email notifications manually. When you sign up, that's how you sign up. You send me a list of emails, and these are all securely stored, compliantly stored. We'll be very responsible with the email addresses. That being said, it's not a scalable model. So we want to have a very coherent settings story where you can pick which services that you want to get notifications for, because one of our principles is not to over-communicate, not to cry wolf too much, and this will be part of the GA workflow. We will also work towards getting report and outage into GA. And finally, yes, translation comes to SHD. After notifications, the most requested feature is translation. And pardon my French, if there are any French speaking, we are getting better. We will get better with your feedback. But translation is going to be there. In 44 languages, we depend on Bing Translator, and it's the same engine that's used by Message Center. So there is coherence between Message Center and SHD. Here's a quick roadmap of how these features are going to land. And with that, thank you so much for listening to me, and I'll give it back to Mike.
Avani, thank you. I'll